we now have been joined by Senator Rand Paul, who is with us. And Senator, appreciate you joining us. I'll just ask the big question right off the top. You got Tulsi Gabbard coming out with Russiagate. You have been documents that seem to show that the truth was known and not shared with the American public as it pertains to Russia's involvement in the 2016 election. You have been trying to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable for a very long time over the lies that I think we believe he told under oath relating to COVID and American gain-of-function research and all of these things. I would say the number one question that Buck and I get on a regular basis is, we see all the evidence. We believe that there is ample evidence there for charges to be brought, yet all of these people in positions of power never have charges brought against them. They can find anybody who walked into the Capitol on January 6th and arrest them and throw the book at them. But if you're super powerful and you're on the left side of the political equation, nothing ever happens to you. Will anything? Are you as frustrated as our average listener would be over this?
Yes, and, I sense the frustration, and I, see some of the responses on our social media. What are you going to do? When are you going to arrest Fauci? People do have to realize I have no ability to arrest anyone, but the Department of Justice does. And I've done everything I can. I referred Fauci twice under Biden. I presumed they would ignore it, but now I referred him most recently, just in the last week, to the Trump Department of Justice. And there needs to be a hue and cry that he needs to be prosecuted. I think he clearly lied to Congress. The other thing is it would bring up his pardon, and then I think in court we need to have a test case to see if a auto pen signature is a valid pardon. I think there would be then in court the discussion of who ran the auto pen, who gave them the orders. I think so far we know the person running the auto pen says some guy that worked for Joe Biden told him to do it. And so ultimately, you'd have to have you could essentially, I think, bring in the testimony of ultimately either the president's wife or the president. It would be hard to get them into court, but this would be a test case of whether that pardon holds.
Senator Paul, always appreciate you being with us. I want to ask you about the Fed. One, I think you want to get more of a look into the books at the Fed, but can you also speak to the what is it, a $2 billion renovation that the Federal Reserve's Washington, D.C. headquarters has gotten? I know in D.C. money has a whole different meaning or lack of meaning, depending. But $2 billion for reno, that's pretty pricey stuff. What's going on?
Well, the Federal Reserve doesn't even have congressional oversight as far as the power of the purse. They just print it up. They've got their own printing press, and they spend whatever they feel like spending. And so they started out at $1.9 billion, and they're $600 million over. They're up to $2.5 billion. They're $600,000, or a 33% increase in over the original estimate. But you want to talk about real money. The thing the Federal Reserve is doing right now that offends me more than anything else is they are paying big banks in New York and around the world not to loan money. It's a program that started in 2009. They were paying banks like a quarter of a point or a half a point not to loan money. And it was money, but it wasn't huge amounts. Now they're paying them 4.4% as of about a week or two ago. And that 4.4% equals $188 billion. And 40% of that money is going to foreign banks. So it's not only the Federal Reserve, holds American debt, so we have to raise taxes to pay the Federal Reserve interest. They get our interest. Then they're paying our interest back to big banks to tell them not to loan money. It's the craziest scam you've ever heard of, but it's real money now. And, if there's nothing that unites the right and the left, it's when taxpayer money or government-controlled money like this is going from the regular middle class to the very wealthy elite, not only of our country, but of the world.
We're talking to Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. What did you think of Andy Beshear's Vogue photo shoot?
I think he's running for Secretary of Transportation. I think he really wants to be the next Pete Buttigieg. So I think he's got a great shot at it.
I couldn't believe I was looking at these photos and I just thought to myself, who in Kentucky is thinking, hey, I really want to see a Vogue photo shoot of the governor. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, I bet, because I remember you came on with us last time, said he's going to try to run for president. But I just look at this guy. He's one of the worst governors out there. To sign off on the Vogue photo shoot, I couldn't believe it was real.
Well, here's the real question. Did Vogue actually ask him about vetoing a bill that would have stopped sex change surgeries for minors? So our Republican legislature put before him a bill to no longer have minors, not allow minors to make a decision to have this permanent surgery, and he vetoed it. So our Republican legislature, I'm proud of him, promptly overrode him. But this guy's not part of the mainstream. He's part of the extreme left, and he got lucky somehow to win in our state. But there's nothing about him that is moderate. He is as progressive as the day is long.
Senator Paul, something that's gotten a bit of attention today, it has to do with the president's ability to get his appointees in place, particularly on the judiciary side, and when it comes to U.S. attorneys. As the Trump administration appointed Alina Habba, one of Trump's lawyers, to be the U.S. attorney in New Jersey, a U.S. attorney in New Jersey. Judges there decided, Democrat-appointed judges, no shock to anyone, that she was unacceptable, and they just picked someone else. Now, that I understand is getting a bit specific into what's going on in New Jersey, but how is it going with Senate confirmation of various appointees, and specifically for judicial nominees, because that's such a critical thing to be functioning efficiently? And I am hearing some complaints from people who, work right near you on Capitol Hill about Senate Leader Thune and not getting this thing done with the efficiency and absolute sense of urgency that it needs to be done.
The good news is that we've actually approved twice as many as we had in 2017. When Trump won in 2017, by this time in the summer of that first year, we had approved about 55. I think we're up over 110. So it's a slow, laborious process, and the Democrats are worse than they've ever been in the sense that it typically and historically the leadership would sit down from each party at the end of the week. They'd agree to a list of 10 or 15 that pass them all together in one group by voice vote. None of that happens anymore. So we have like 1,500 Trump appointees. We got to vote on them one at a time. Most of them we have to wait 2 hours. We vote to get onto the bill to vote for them, and then 2 hours later to confirm them. And so it's laborious. But the good news is we've done twice as many as we did in 2017. So I think given the Democrats' opposition and obstruction, I think we're doing pretty well.
What should happen with the Russia gate? We've got Tulsi Gabbard having a press conference right now. You went through all of this in the attempt to delegitimize Trump's election in 2016. I said on the air, I actually think the 2020 actions that were done to try to argue from the 51 intelligence agents, the Hunter Biden laptop, not releasing the fact that maybe we thought back then, hey, we've got a successful vaccine. There were a lot of things that could have been out publicly that could have swung this election a big way. I think 2020 was rigged substantially. But what should happen associated with 2016 in your mind, both practically and if you had an ideal world, right? Because there's the reality of what can happen and what should happen. How would you distinguish between those two?
I always look at things in general terms. I'm horrified by what they did to Donald Trump, and it should make everyone mad. But I'm also concerned about average, ordinary Americans and what they can do and what this power means could be done to average, ordinary Americans. So I'm for taking that power away. Some people want Brennan in jail. They want Obama in jail. And those things are unlikely to happen. But the one thing we could do as a Congress is take power away from the intelligence agencies. They should not have this much power. I have always thought from the beginning, I've said it publicly, I believe that Brennan called foreign governments and used their intelligence agencies to spy on the Trump campaign. You remember these random meetings in the bar with different Trump campaign officials? I don't believe they were random. I think they were planned. And I think because it's illegal for our CIA to investigate Americans, much less Americans involved in politics, I think they got our allies in on it. And I think there is a bit of massive cover-up from the very beginning on this. I do think what she's pointing out, what Tulsi Gabbard has said, is incredibly important. The assessment by all of the intelligence agencies after 2016 is that the Russians, like they always do, tried to mess with our elections, but that it was ineffectual, it was tiny, it was minute, it was some Facebook ads, and did not affect the outcome. That was the conclusion. But then that conclusion was vetoed by Brennan and high-ranking people because they chose to create a narrative that the election was stolen, that the election was illegitimate. Hillary Clinton said it. Jimmy Carter said it. All the leading Democrats said that Trump was an illegitimate president. And what they did is they then seeded information throughout all of government to try to start this narrative that there was a Russian collusion. One of the most bizarre parts of this is the Hillary Clinton campaign pays for the Steele dossier that has this so-called incriminating information in it. They give it to our government, but then they also send Steele to Halifax, Nova Scotia to meet John McCain and secretly give him the file as well. He comes back to Washington, takes the bait, is all hysterical, and then gives it back to government, but that's where it started. So the government commissioned Steele to go back. It starts with the Clinton campaign. This Christopher Steele, a former spy, collects all this nonsense, puts it in the folder, gives it to John McCain, who breathlessly races back to Washington to help get the thing started. But this was a big psyops. This was a big operation by intelligence community, and of course it was illegal. And I'm proud of Tulsi Gabbard for getting to the bottom of it. I hope she continues to overturn and expose this corruption.
Transparency is incredibly important on this. So, Senator Paul, we agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Do you think it is feasible, not even likely, but feasible, that anybody could be put in handcuffs based on what they did with Russia collusion?
You know, they'll all tell a different tale. And, you know, changing an intelligence report, they'll say they got other information. It's going to be hard to put anybody in jail on that. But the main thing I always look for in this is trying to fix the system so it doesn't happen again. So what we should conclude from this is intelligence agencies have the power to destroy individuals, and so there needs to be more checks and balances and less ability of an intelligence agency to investigate Americans. This goes along with the FISA database that they have, which a lot of Americans are sucked up into the system. It goes along with that Quiet Skies program where they were spying on Tulsi Gabbard when she was on planes. There's so much abuse, and nobody in Congress knows anything about what the intelligence agencies do other than the Intelligence Committee in the Senate and the House. And they silo off the information, and they try to prevent any other members from knowing exactly what they're doing. Their budgets are secret. It's like pulling teeth to get any kind of look at any of their budgets. So, yeah, there's too much power. And we went through this after J. Edgar Hoover, and he was using the power of the office to blackmail people. He was using the power of the office to illegally spy on people. And there were big reforms in the 70s. But since the 1970s, the reforms have worn off, and the intelligence agencies have grown too strong again. And what they did to Donald Trump should be a clarion call for us to reform them and strip back their power.
Senator Rand Paul, appreciate you making the time for us, sir.
Oh, on the Real ID, Clay, I got to tell you, if you stand in the line to get the chip put in, they can insert that chip in no time at all, and there's no line.
I don't even know what that means. I feel like this is a joke. You're so deadpanning it there that I was like...
It is a joke. Don't get in either line. But, no, it took me 3 months to get the damn Real ID, and they kept refusing to give it to me because some of my documents said Randall and not Rand, and they weren't sure who I was presenting myself to be.
This drives me. You go in and out of Nashville like I do because you live in Kentucky, but this drives me absolutely bonkers. Appreciate the time.
I hate it. And we fought it for years and years in Kentucky, and finally they take away your right to travel. Apparently the right to travel is a privilege, and you can only travel under the government auspices. It's a step in the wrong direction.
Amen.
All right, Senator Paul, thank you so much. Clay, also, that deadpan, when I had no idea that was a joke.
Well, so he got me. He's such a serious guy usually. He really got me because I was getting ready for you to read, and I was like, my implant? What? That was well played by Senator Paul.
Preborn, my friends. Preborn is in a league of its own as a nonprofit. They save the lives of tens of thousands of babies every year. Last year alone, over 65,000 babies saved because of the work that Preborn's doing. This is how they do it. They bring a mother in who's pregnant, mother-to-be, and they say, look, let's introduce you to your baby. Before you make any decision about life or, sadly, abortion, let's have you meet that baby, free ultrasound, and let's let you know that you'll get support for 2 years after the baby is born to support the life of that baby. And it is so precious what they do. They operate clinics in communities where abortion rates are highest. So preborn is on the front lines, saving tiny babies every day. If you can please consider a donation, $28 would sponsor an ultrasound for a mother in a crisis who should become a mom, right? Should have that baby. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby, or visit preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/BUCK, sponsored by Preborn.